Welcome to Mr. English Daily.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mr. English Daily, your go-to place for real English, real conversations, and real life. I'm Luna.
And I'm Leo. So glad you're spending part of your day with us. And today's topic, it's one of those subjects that almost everyone can relate to, because almost everyone has felt it.
That strange, uncomfortable feeling that your days are slipping away from you, even when you're doing everything right.
We have more technology than any generation before us. More tools, more shortcuts, more apps promising to save us time.
Washing machines, dishwashers, food delivery, instant payments, voice assistants, the list goes on.
And yet, somehow, people are more stressed, more rushed, and more exhausted than ever.
Right, and that's not just ironic, that's actually worth exploring.
Because when you look at older generations, your parents, your grandparents, they had fewer machines, fewer conveniences, fewer shortcuts.
They cooked from scratch, they walked more, they did things by hand that we now do with a button.
And still, many of us look back at that era and think they seem to have more breathing room.
More real evenings, more hobbies, more moments that didn't feel fractured into tiny pieces.
So what happened? If life got easier, why does it feel so much harder to find peace inside it?
That's the question we're sitting with today, and I think it's a deeply honest one.
Because the feeling isn't just busy, it's more like crowded. Like too many tabs are open in your mind at the same time.
Yes, you wake up, check one thing, remember three others, reply to something, and before you've even had breakfast, your brain is already running a meeting it never agreed to attend.
And by evening, you've done things. You were active, you responded, you handled stuff. But you still wonder, what did this day actually feel like?
Exactly. Life got more convenient, but it also got noisier, faster, and more demanding in ways that sneak up on you.
So in today's episode, we want to talk about that honestly, not in a push harder, do more kind of way.
No, more like, let's look at what's actually going on and explore some real ideas that can help you protect your time, your energy, and your sense of being present in your own life.
And of course, because this is Mr. English Daily, we're doing all of that through natural, usable English.
This is a B2 level episode, so the language is a bit richer today. But don't worry if you don't catch every single word.
Just stay with us. Listen for meaning, listen for feeling, and let the English come to you naturally.
Later in the episode, we'll also break down some really powerful vocabulary from today's conversation, our word tour segment. So stick around for that.
And before we jump in, if you enjoy learning English through real, meaningful conversations like this one, please hit like, subscribe to Mr. English Daily, and leave a comment below.
We'd actually love to hear from you today. Here's our question. What quietly steals the most time from your day?
It could be something big, it could be something tiny. We'd love to read your answers.
Because sometimes we don't lose time in one dramatic moment, we lose it in small, barely noticed pieces.
And that might be the most important thing we talk about today.
All right, let's get into it. Part 1. The day begins the night before.
Okay, I want to start somewhere that most people don't expect.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of people blame their mornings. They say, I need a better morning routine. I need to wake up earlier. I need to be more focused from the start.
That's very common advice, yes.
But here's what I actually think. The morning is usually just the result. The real story started the night before.
Oh, say more.
If the night ended with one more scroll, one more episode, one more worry spinning in your head, your mind never actually landed. It never really closed.
So the body goes to sleep, but the mind stays open.
Exactly. And then morning arrives and people wake up already behind, already mentally tired. And they think, what's wrong with my mornings?
But the real question is, how did my evening end?
Right. And I think that shift in thinking matters a lot. A better tomorrow very often starts with a calmer, gentler ending to tonight.
That's actually a really grounding idea because we spend so much energy optimizing the start of the day and almost no energy protecting the end of it.
And when the ending is messy and noisy, the morning inherits all of that.
So the first takeaway is simple but important. If you want a better day, start by giving your evenings a little more respect. Part 2. the noise that costs you.
Okay, this next point connects to something that I think a lot of people feel but don't quite have words for.
What's that?
Not all tiredness comes from hard work. Some tiredness comes from too much useless input.
Oh, yes. Too many updates, too many opinions, too many random pieces of information entering your head throughout the day and leaving a kind of mess behind.
And this is where people often start to squander their attention.
Let's pause on that word. To squander something, it means to waste something valuable in a careless way. And attention is genuinely valuable. Clear thinking is valuable. Peace is valuable.
But people lose these things slowly, not all at once. One quick check feels harmless, then another, then another.
And somehow, your brain ends up feeling like a room after a children's birthday party.
Loud, messy, very hard to put back together.
Exactly. And the uncomfortable truth is not everything that enters your mind deserves to live there.
Some things inform you, other things just crowd you.
So the takeaway here is this. If you want a calmer life, you have to become a bit more protective of what you allow into your mind.
Because a quiet mind isn't empty, it's just selective.
Part 3. The weight of small, unfinished things.
Okay, this one is painfully real for me personally.
I'm listening.
Sometimes the biggest stress in a day isn't one huge dramatic problem, it's 5 small unfinished things just sitting there.
A reply you haven't sent, a payment you keep forgetting, a form, a booking, a call you're avoiding.
Small tasks, but they have enormous energy in your head.
And this is where people often let something slide.
Right. To let something slide means to ignore it or allow it to be neglected. And it usually starts harmlessly. I'll do it later. But later becomes tomorrow, tomorrow becomes next week.
And suddenly, this tiny task has been quietly following you around for days, taking up space it never deserved.
I had exactly this recently. One simple email. It would have taken maybe 4 minutes, but because I kept delaying it, it started feeling enormous in my mind.
Why does a 4-minute task become a 4-day burden?
Because the task doesn't grow, but the weight of carrying it does.
So the takeaway is this. Sometimes peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from closing one small, open loop before it starts following you around all day. Part 4. Don't wear yourself out.
Let's talk about something that I think modern culture actually rewards in a way that isn't healthy.
The glorification of being exhausted.
Yes, acting like nonstop effort is proof that you're serious, that you're committed, that you're doing life correctly.
And sometimes, yes, life is genuinely demanding. Sometimes you do have to push hard. That's real.
But if you never pause, your body usually chooses the pause for you.
Through irritability, through brain fog, through that particular kind of exhaustion where even a simple question feels offensive.
Someone asks, "What do you want for dinner?" and your tired brain treats it like an exam question.
Exactly. And this is where wear yourself out fits perfectly. If you wear yourself out, you make yourself too tired through too much effort or stress.
And a lot of people wear themselves out trying to be productive every single second and then wonder why the whole day starts feeling gray and flat.
Breaks don't ruin a good day, they protect it.
So the takeaway is clear. Don't wait till your body's shouting at you. Small pauses now are far kinder than collapse later.
Part 5. Time and energy are not the same thing.
This next idea might hit the hardest because I think it explains why so many well-planned days still fall apart.
Go on.
The problem is not only time, the problem is energy.
Because one free hour means very little if you're too drained to actually use it.
Right. Free time is not always usable time. And I think a lot of people have felt that. You finally have space and you're too empty to do anything meaningful with it.
A lot of schedules fail because they're completely out of sync with real human energy.
And out of sync means not working in harmony or rhythm with something else. On paper, the plan looks perfect. But if your sleep is poor, your mind is heavy, your body's depleted, the plan and the person are no longer moving together.
And then people blame themselves. Why am I so lazy? But maybe they're not lazy, they're just empty.
You can't keep building your day on borrowed energy. It doesn't last.
So the takeaway is this: protect your sleep, your rest, your body. Time matters enormously, but energy is what makes time actually usable. Part 6: protect your best hours.
Okay, this one is very practical, and I think once you hear it, you'll never think about your day the same way again.
I hope so. What is it? Not every hour of the day has the same value.
That's true. Some hours feel sharp and clear. Some hours feel like your brain showed up wearing slippers.
And the mistake people often make is spending their best hour on their least important task.
Which is why reclaim is such a useful word here. To reclaim something means to take it back after losing it.
And sometimes managing your time wisely is really about reclaiming your best attention from weak priorities.
Don't spend your clearest hour on your weakest task.
That one sentence could genuinely change how an entire week feels. Because when you give your sharpest energy to small, low-value things, you have nothing strong left for what actually matters.
So the takeaway is simple. Find your golden hours, the hours when your mind is at its best, and protect those for real work, real thinking, and real priorities.
Part 7: The Polite Thief. Unnecessary yeses.
Time isn't always stolen dramatically. Sometimes it's taken very politely.
Through a quick favor, a small request, one of those classic phrases, "It'll only take 5 minutes."
Famous last words.
And I think some people actually hold on to being busy. They cling to busyness because it makes them feel needed, useful, important.
Right, to cling to something means to hold on to it too tightly. And even when the busyness is exhausting, some people can't let it go because it feels like proof that they matter.
And that's worth sitting with, because sometimes saying yes isn't really kindness. Sometimes it's fear.
The fear of what happens if you don't fill every moment.
And every unnecessary yes becomes a quiet no to your rest, your focus, your peace, your own life.
So the takeaway is this. Boundaries are not coldness, they're protection. You are allowed to say no before your day gets quietly eaten from the edges.
Part 8: Slow down before life blurs.
This next point feels a little more emotional to me because it's not just about productivity, it's about actually feeling your own life.
What do you mean?
Time doesn't only disappear through work. Sometimes it disappears through speed.
When life moves too fast, the days don't just pass, they blur. Breakfast becomes background noise. A walk becomes just another way to get somewhere. Even rest becomes another item on the list.
And then people say, where did this week go? But the truth is, the week was barely felt.
Because speed steals detail, and detail is where life is actually experienced.
So sometimes you have to carve out time for slowness on purpose.
Right. To carve out time, it means to deliberately create space for something. It doesn't just appear, you choose it.
A slow meal, a quiet walk, a real conversation. 10 minutes without noise. These look small, but they return you to your own life.
So the takeaway here, slowing down is not wasting time. Sometimes it's the only way to stop losing your life in tiny, unnoticed pieces.
And this brings us to the final idea. And honestly, I think it reframes everything we've talked about today.
Go for it.
This is not really about becoming more efficient. It's about becoming more conscious.
Because if time management becomes just another way to pressure yourself, we've completely missed the point.
The goal isn't to become some perfect optimized machine with an impressive routine and an impossibly glowing face at 5 a.m.
Very suspicious person. We don't trust them.
We do not.
The real goal is simpler and deeper. It's to build a life you can actually sustain.
And to sustain something means to continue it over time. So the best routine isn't the most impressive one. It's the one that still works on an ordinary, messy, tired Tuesday.
Real life is the test, not the perfect version you imagined on Sunday evening.
And making the most of your time isn't about squeezing more things into the day. It's about losing less of yourself inside the day.
So the final takeaway is this. The goal isn't a fuller schedule. The goal is a fuller life, lived slowly, kindly, and consciously.
And that's how real change actually lasts.
Word tour.
We used some genuinely powerful words and phrases in today's conversation, and this is the perfect moment to slow down and look at them together.
Because hearing a word inside a real conversation is great, but taking a closer moment to really see it, that's where it sticks.
Let's start with squander.
To squander something means to waste something valuable in a careless way. In today's episode, we said people often don't lose time dramatically, they squander it in small, barely noticed pieces.
For example, she squandered her best hours on things that didn't matter.
Or, don't squander your energy on things you can't control.
Repeat after us. Squander.
Squander.
Next, drift.
To drift means to move without clear direction or purpose. We used it to describe how attention can wander through the day without any real intention guiding it.
For example, it's easy to drift through an evening when you're tired and distracted.
Or, without a clear plan, your focus can drift from one thing to another all day.
Repeat, drift.
Drift.
Next, juggle.
To juggle means to manage many different things at the same time. It carries the feeling of trying to keep everything moving without dropping anything.
For example, modern life asks people to juggle work, family, and personal goals all at once.
Or, she's juggling too many responsibilities and it's starting to wear her down.
Repeat, juggle.
Juggle.
Next, sustain.
To sustain something means to keep it going over time. We used it when talking about building habits and routines you can actually maintain, not just ones that look impressive for 3 days.
For example, the best habit is the one you can sustain, not the one that sounds most ambitious.
Or, small, consistent actions are far easier to sustain than extreme ones.
Repeat, sustain.
Sustain.
Next, cling to.
To cling to something means to hold on to it too tightly, even when letting go would be healthier. We used it to describe people who cling to busyness because it feels like proof of their value.
For example, some people cling to old habits even when those habits are clearly not working.
Or, he clung to his packed schedule because slowing down felt uncomfortable.
Repeat, cling to.
Cling to.
Next, reclaim.
To reclaim something means to take it back after it was lost. In today's episode, we talked about reclaiming your best hours and your sharpest attention from low-value tasks.
For example, she reclaimed her evenings by turning off unnecessary notifications.
Or, sometimes good time management is really about reclaiming your attention from things that don't deserve it.
Repeat, reclaim.
Reclaim.
Next, wear yourself out.
If you wear yourself out, you make yourself too exhausted through too much effort or stress. It's what happens when you keep pushing and never allow yourself to properly rest.
For example, some people wear themselves out trying to be productive every single second.
Or, if you never slow down, you can wear yourself out without even realizing it.
Repeat, wear yourself out.
Wear yourself out.
Next, let something slide.
To let something slide means to ignore it or allow it to be neglected. We used it to describe small tasks that people delay until those tasks start taking up mental space they were never supposed to occupy.
For example, when life gets overwhelming, it's easy to let small responsibilities slide.
Or, he let one small task slide for a week and it stayed in his mind the entire time.
Repeat, let something slide.
Let something slide.
Next, carve out time.
To carve out time means to deliberately create space for something that matters. You don't just wait for free time to appear, you choose to make room for it.
For example, she carves out time every morning to sit quietly before the day begins.
Or, if something truly matters to you, you usually have to carve out time for it on purpose.
Repeat, carve out time.
Carve out time.
And finally, out of sync.
If something is out of sync, it means it's not working in harmony or rhythm with something else. We used it to describe schedules that look perfect on paper, but don't actually match how the person feels or how their energy moves.
For example, sometimes a plan fails simply because it's out of sync with your real energy levels.
Or, his day looked organized from the outside, but inside, everything felt completely out of sync.
Repeat, out of sync.
Out of sync.
And those were today's word tour expressions.
These aren't just vocabulary for an exam. These are words for real life. Words that help you describe real feelings and real situations more clearly.
So this week, choose one or two that stayed with you. Try to use them in a sentence, in your writing, in your thinking.
That's how English actually grows. Not through pressure, through small, real use again and again.
Today's episode wasn't only about managing time better.
It was about protecting what makes your time worth having. Your attention, your energy, your peace. The feeling of actually being present in your own life.
So if one idea stayed with you today, let that be enough. One small shift can change the whole feeling of a day.
Maybe it's ending tonight a little more gently. Maybe it's closing one small task that's been following you. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't deserve your day.
Or maybe it's simply slowing down just enough to notice your own life again.
And we'd love to hear from you. What's one thing that quietly steals time from your life? And what's one small change you want to try after today?
Drop it in the comments. Short or long, we always love reading your thoughts.
If this episode gave you something useful, please like it, subscribe to Mr. English Daily, and share it with someone who might need it.
I'm Luna.
And I'm Leo.
And you've been listening to Mr. English Daily.
Keep going. Your English is growing, even when it doesn't feel like it.
See you in the next one.